Hello, we're live on Facebook. It might not last very long. It's a very tentative seeing. So anyway, we are here for the FFS Friday Facebook session. It looks like it might still be working. This is the third time, so we're going third time lucky. If you just tuned in and you've got no idea what we're talking about, we've tried to go live twice. Facebook has kicked us out. We're trying it for the third time and we'll see if it works. So fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So anyway, here we are today. We're going to talk about converting your website visitors into actual customers. This is something we talk about all the time at GrowTraffic because obviously we are GrowTraffic. The primary purpose of our business is to grow the traffic to your website. But if we grow the traffic to your website and that then doesn't convert into actual visitors, then you as the customer feel that sorry, I'm just checking we're still live. You as a customer feel that you haven't got the thing out of it that you want. Obviously, your end goal as the client is to get more customers to your business. So loads of new traffic is great, but if they're not actually converting, they're not buying your product, they're not buying your service, they're not a great lot of use to you. So how do you turn that traffic that you get onto your website into actual paying customers? We have two people here. So first of all, Hannah, who are you?
Hello. I'm Hannah.
And what do you do, Hannah?
I am a director of GrowTraffic.
Okay. And Aaron, who are you?
Hello, I'm Aaron. I'm a director of a company called Problem. We create marketing websites and kind of custom web applications.
Yeah, so I said when I was doing the advert for this that you kind of specialize. You did come on to one of our sessions last year, didn't you, where we were talking about how to create the kind of perfect landing pages. But that's your specialism, isn't it? It's actually, as we say, getting the traffic to the website is great, but what your company does is really specialize on conversions.
Yeah, pretty much. Whatever it takes, whether that's the creative side of things or the technical side of things. There's a few things kind of, there's a lot of moving parts, but it doesn't have to be complicated by any means.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, this is the thing that I think people always complicate everything to do with web design and SEO and everything. And actually it's just stripping it down to those main basic components, isn't it? What do people want? How do we give that to them in the easiest way possible? That's all it's about. Okay, so
yeah, none of it is complicated, and I think the industry just perpetuates this so we can keep charging for it, but you really, really can do it yourself. And today we're going to tell you how.
Yeah, we'll tell you how. Well done, Hannah. Good lead there. Good lead.
Off you go.
We have got 5 actionable tips for you today. You can take these away, look at them in terms of your own website and improve your own CRO, conversion rate optimization. That's the fancy title of what we're talking about. So let's have first of all, tip number 1. Get the right traffic to your website. Now, obviously, this sounds like, completely obvious, growing your customers 101. Of course, you want the right traffic on your website. Everybody does. How do we actually go about doing that? Hannah first.
So the most important thing is that your keywords are correct and you're not using keywords that are ambiguous. So all traffic is worth it, I suppose, but not all traffic is as worth it as others. So the right people will stick around on your website longer. They're much more likely to convert. It will pay dividends if you're getting the right people to it. So for example, say you're selling jeans and you're selling jeans to children. You don't want adults coming on looking for men's jeans, for example, because your user stats are going to go down. So getting your right keywords is really, really important to make sure that you're driving the correct traffic.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the thing as well, this is what we often find when we first start working on a campaign to grow traffic for our customers. In the initial stages, there is a little bit of, we just want anybody on there. You just want as many people there as possible, because the more people are on your website looking around, they will absolutely up your statistics. But if you, as Hannah says, if you have that for a long period, if you've got a lot of people coming on and bouncing off again, so you've got a high bounce rate, you've got low engagement signals, they're not browsing, they're not spending time on the website, that will ultimately start to negatively impact your website. So you reach a point where you have to start narrowing that audience down and stop saying, let's just get huge volumes, and we want to start getting the right customers. Aaron, any advice on how you do this for your customers, or how you advise people?
I think, Hannah, you should elaborate on keywords, but before you do, I think you're right about getting people to your website. I think it's actually probably going to be harder to get someone there for the second time if you mess it up the first time, because they kind of might think that, oh, I already know what that website's all about, so I don't need to go there again. So getting the right traffic is really important. But on the keyword thing, so getting the right keyword. So my first question is, what keyword would you use for someone who wanted to sell jeans for kids? And then what would you do with them keywords?
Right. So we need an it depends button. This is the first it depends of the session. Woo! The keywords, it depends. So it's really important that you get the right intent. I want to change my example actually, because I was on the fly and I picked jeans and it was a shit one. I'm going to go with mortgages, right? So, because this has been on my mind this morning. So say you have you're a mortgage broker. You don't want your keyword to be mortgages, because the intent of someone searching for mortgages, they're probably not ready to inquire for a broker. They're probably just fishing around. They're really like top of the funnel. So you want a keyword that's specific, that is kind of someone would type in when they're ready to start using your services, especially if you're using PPC and you actually want people to convert. Otherwise, it's a wasted click. You want to make sure that there's no ambiguity. So mortgages, it could be a bank. You could be looking for a bank lender. You could be looking for a broker. You could be looking for a calculator. It's not clear enough yet. And there needs to be a decent amount of search volume. So, you want some people who are actually looking for that keyword, but not too many. So if you've got a keyword that's got a search volume of thousands and thousands, chances are it's going to be ambiguous. So I would bet my bottom dollar the search volume for a word like mortgages is significantly more than the search volume for a word like mortgage broker near me. So once you've established your keyword, what your keyword should be, you need to start putting it into the copy on the page that you're trying to use to convert. And if you're doing PPC, then you need to be putting that as an exact match keyword or a broad match, depending on your audience. And you need to optimize that page for that keyword. So your keyword needs to track through your copy and through the back end optimization. It needs to be the same word, the same phrase with a couple of semantics in the rest of your copy.
In terms of keywords, we could literally talk about keywords all day, and I think there are sessions where we have talked about them, but just a couple of tips. First of all, when you're thinking about what your keywords are, always think about what your customers will call something, not what you call something. So, for example, we do SEO copywriting. No bugger out there searches for SEO copywriting. They search for bloggers, blog writing, content writers, that sort of thing. So what are your customers calling it is the first thing. And secondly, who are you competing against for that keyword? Just do some Googling, a little bit of basic 5-minute research. Who are you competing against? If you are up against big companies with massive budgets, you're not going to get that keyword. So go a little bit more niche. Try and distill it down to, all right, so you don't want mortgages, as Hannah says. I want people who are looking for specifically mortgage brokers, not a mortgage comparison website. So I'm going to go mortgage broker in Doncaster, for example. So be a bit strategic, and that will help you attract the right traffic. I do just want to quickly say that, Aaron, that was a really good point. You only have one chance of getting that repeat repeat traffic back to your website. And repeat traffic is really important for search engines. They clock that, and they will reward you with rankings and traffic if you get repeat people back. But if you cock it up the first time, they are not going to come back. So you need to make sure you have a good website. It looks nice, it's attracting people, it's interesting, it's engaging, blah, 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 blah. Also, you need to give them a reason to come back, which is why you publish new content and you put new stuff on there. Otherwise, they're not. If you've just got a 5-page website and it's been the same 5-page website for the past 5 years, nobody's going to come back and look at it. They've seen it. So you've got to be adding stuff to it and creating new stuff.
Traditionally,
Okay, so
it takes 30 touch points, doesn't it, to convert someone?
Yeah.
So, you know, think about that. You've got to give them 13 reasons to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so converting your web visitors into customers. Number 1, get the right traffic on your website. Number 2, make your copy effective. What do I mean by this? Aaron, what do I mean by make your copy effective?
Get to the point. No one cares about your shit. Is generally what I tell people. Just really kind of, I know there's a few people. I listen to a guy called Donald Miller who wrote a book called Story Brand, and he challenged people to, if they've already got copy written for their website, try and halve it and see what you can make of that copy. So if it's kind of a dedicated sales page, don't write a paragraph where 5 bullet points would do better in less time. I think ultimately because people don't read websites, they scan them, because time is the most valuable resource that we have. So yeah, keep it to the point, nice and emotional, clear call to actions, but say what you do as well. Like going back to speak your customer's language, make it as easy to understand what this product or this service is.
I was on a website the other day, and I had an hour-long meeting with them after I'd spent 15-20 minutes looking at their website, and I had absolutely no bloody idea what they did. They had all this language of, you know, we use innovation and technology to create a tailored service that is bespoke to you and your. I'm like, well, what? Just tell me what are you doing?
Business bullshit.
Yeah, I don't want to listen to you waffle. There is a place on there for, you know, that all of that information about you and your story and how you got there and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's a place for that in terms of your content creation. But on your main landing pages where people are coming in, you need to be telling them how are you going to solve their problem and why are you the best person to solve their problem. And you want to do that quickly and get to the point. Yeah, Hannah?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, my absolute bugbear is when you go on a website and it's our services do this, this, and this. Our services are this, this, and this. Like, but what are your actual fucking services? Yeah. Like, you need to be really, really clear. And I think, like, the thing I always have in my mind when I'm writing web page copy, which is different to how you would write a blog or a product description or anything like that, I always say, like, put the point first, put your actual point, and then if you want to put a little bit of waffle afterwards and explain how and why, do that. But you know, it's so easy to get into the habit of writing the explanation and then make the point to, like, you know, hammer it home. It's not the right place on your webpage. You really need to just, you know, state the facts first. There's a really interesting kind of tension between web designers and copywriters, SEO copywriters, in how much copy goes on a page. So Google like around 300 words as a minimum on a page before they'll recognize it really is having a decent amount of content on. But there's ways around that. You don't want 300 words in one paragraph or 2 paragraphs. I think it's a skill to be able to split your content up into micro content chunks. And like Aaron said, use bullet points and pull bits out of your copy and have headlines and stuff that really hammer your points home. But you do need some content on as well, like Rach said, probably elsewhere on your site, but not on your landing page.
Well, this is where good web design should work in tandem with your on-site SEO and your SEO copywriting, because you're absolutely right. You need that level of content on there. You need that detail. but you can't just whack people in the face with it as soon as they land on your website. Nobody wants to sit there and read through 1,000 words of content. So that's where you have like your micro boxes, your micro content that pull out. These are the main points that I want to tell you. These are the 3 things, and you use your web design to do that. And you use things like your accordion boxes. So you say, if you want to read more, click here, open it up, go through to another page. There's always ways, aren't there? But yeah, it's about keeping it concise. I'm going to keep us moving, guys, because we are short of time. So how do you convert your web visitors into customers? Number 1, get the right traffic there in the first place. Number 2, make your copy effective. Point 3, have clear calls to action. Aaron, how many pages do you see where there's no calls to action on them whatsoever?
Probably, if I had to guess in a percentage, I'd say about 98%. If your page doesn't have a call to action, it doesn't have a purpose. And if a page without a purpose is a pointless page, you've just wasted everybody's time publishing that page. That's your own time, your web developer's time, the person who decided to make that page's time, and your customer's time. Yeah. I truly believe that customers, they need, but they also want to know what the next step is. What do I need to do? Because especially if they're at that point in the customer journey where there's enough tension for them to buy, then they need to know what the next step is, because if they don't, they won't.
Yeah, absolutely. They won't do it. Yeah. And this is what somebody asked me the other day. I was doing a talk and I was talking about calls to action in blogs. And they said, oh, should you also have a call to action on your web pages? And you're like, yeah, anything that you put out in the world, have a call to action on it. What do you want somebody to do next? They're not going to decide it for themselves. They're not going to think. They're not going to sit there and think, oh, I wonder what GrowTraffic want me to do at the end of this. They won't. They'll click off or go somewhere else. You have got to make it absolutely crystal clear. This is what I want you to do next. Hannah.
Yeah, I think as well, have multiples on one page. If you've got quite a long page, then and you've only got one call to action on right at the bottom, people might not get there. So spread your call to actions out on the page. I absolutely hate pop-ups and stickies and stuff, so it just turns me off immediately. And Google are starting to they're rolling out an update in May that will penalize sites, or not penalize. I can hear all the SEO agents going, no, it's not. I'm going to use the word penalize in a general way, SEO people. They will penalize the site if it's, awkward to use, if it's not nice to use, if it's a pain in the arse. So pop-ups and things like that, I don't know, use with caution. But having your call to action scattered in multiple places is really important, and making them clear. Do you want people to call you, or do you want them to drop into your shop, or do you want them to check out, or, what do you want them to do? Don't have 40 different options of call to actions on your page. Make it really clear. Fill in your details here and get in touch, or give us a call, or book an appointment, or whatever. We lost Darren. Don't, have multiple call to actions, because it's just confusing.
I mean, we always say this, don't we, when we're kind of scoping at the beginning with a client. What is the one thing that you want people to do? And they always say, well, I want them to become my customer. And you're like, we've got to be more specific. Do you want them to pick up the phone? Do you want them to fill out your contact form? Do you want them to email you? Do you want them to book a one-to-one with you on using your Calendly? Do you want them to buy the product on the actual website? You've got to be really specific. What do you want them to do? It is possible to have kind of multiple calls to action, but the main thrust of your website should be going for that one.
Like that.
It should be going for that one call to action all the time. This is what I want you to do when you have reached my website. It's unambiguous. It's obvious. There's no messing about. I think the other thing to remember, from a web design point of view, is try and have your phone number and your email address visible at all times. I know you said you don't like stickies, Hannah, but you can have a sticky navigation.
Oh, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, when it's just at the top. So no matter what point of your website somebody is at, they can see your phone number. Then if you lose them, if they drop off from your homepage, they don't click anywhere else, it doesn't matter. They've potentially still got your contact details. So I think that's really important. Okay, I'm going to move us on. I'm sure Aaron will come back in a minute. So how do we convert your web visitors into actual customers? Number one, get the right people there in the first place. Number two, make your copy effective. I'll just let Aaron back in one sec. Number three, have clear calls to action. Hi, Aaron.
Hello
Number
again.
4, provide different options. So, Hannah, what do we mean by provide different options? This sounds counterproductive to exactly what we've just said, doesn't it?
No, but so what I mean is, if you want to give several ways for people to get in touch with you or check out or whatever, you need to give people different routes in. Some people will love a phone call. Some people will prefer an email. Some people will fill in a form and are quite happy with that. And it really is up to that person. And you need to give people that option. But don't then have all over your website, drop into our shop, download this brochure, give us a call here, book a consultation, fill in this form, blah, 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 blah. Pick a couple and stick with them and give people the option to get in touch with you in different ways. But, don't throw everything at it, not the entire
I think the important thing as well to remember is, what stage is your web visitor likely to be at when they reach the end of this page? So, for example, if they've reached the end of your About Us page, and if you look in your Google Analytics, your behavior flow will help you see this, how people move through your website. Where are they likely to go next? If they're likely to go to a blog page next, have you made that clear? This is how you get to our blogs to find out more information about us. Or if they've got to the end of a blog, do you now want to send them to your shop so that they can look at your products? Think about your behavior flow, your user flow, and provide people with different options. They might not always be ready at the point that they've reached the end of that page to buy now. So are you giving them a different way to stay in touch? Sign up to my newsletter, follow me on Facebook. I know it sounds like we're saying don't give them too many options, give them loads of options.
I think it's about being strategic with it and structured, and not just, like I say, chucking absolutely everything at it and hoping they get in touch.
As a owner of a website, you want to a certain extent, be able to control their journey. So instead of them having to make a decision, it's just taking the decision away and just giving them, so I'm meant to do this next. And it might be go to the Facebook page, and you might have lots of different pages and they might have slightly different options, and that's okay, as long as there's not a million options stacked next to each other. So they've just got total decision paralysis. I think it is okay to use a lot of because I think people just know that you're going to have a Facebook page, you're going to have an Instagram page, and they'll make their own decision to an extent based on kind of what they use as well. So you're giving them more options. What I like to do is, if sometimes you might have a call to action and you do want to give them a couple of different options, if you have, especially say like in your hero section on your website, the very sort of the above the fold section on your website, if you like, the bit that someone's going to see straight away, I think a good way of making like a clear call to action, but at the same time giving someone an option, is to have the let's get married option, but then have the this is the next date option. So it could be something like join now or learn more. So you can sort of use them in tandem, but I don't think you need more than 2.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely it. And I think the key thing here is that there's a difference between a call to action button and just having sort of other options. So, your call to action is going to be your big button at the bottom of the page. This is the one thing, maybe as Aaron says, these are the 2 things that I want you to do here. You can choose A or you can choose B, but you want those other options around. So somewhere in their site, you need to have your Facebook buttons. You need to have your email newsletter sign up box. So again, it's, as Aaron said, make the decision for them. Don't give them choice paralysis. Don't have 50 million things you can do next. You do this, you do that. But if you're not ready for either of those, here are the other options that you want to do around the edge. So it's about being strategic. as a business owner, I understand that this sounds completely confusing, but basically we know what we're talking about. So speak to your SEO company, speak to your web designer. They will help you do this so that it makes sense. Right, I'm going to move us on because we are running out of time as ever. So how do you convert your web visitors into customers? Number one, you get the right traffic to your website. Number two, you make your copy as effective as you possibly can. Number three, you have clear call to actions. Number four, you give people options for how they stay in touch with you and how they come back to the website and how they remain part of your audience. Number five, you test and you improve. This is so important. So many people, they build their website and they have their page and that's it. It's done. It's forever. It's there. And then they say, why isn't it working? So Aaron, how do you test your web pages to begin with? How do you make sure that they are working?
That's a great point. I'm trying to think of ways that you don't test them. So it's not often best when you've built your web page to show your friends, unless they're the type of person that's going to buy, because what they're going to is they're going to confuse you and they're going to confuse your web developers when you give them that feedback.
Yeah,
it is good to show your marketing team if you have one, or if you think about working with any other marketing team that haven't built your website. So if you've self-built it, take it to a marketing team, show them, they'll give you some really good tips like you guys. So for the actual testing side of things, use tools that will help you test it. So baseline is Google Analytics. You can get loads of data out of there. Then there's more advanced tools as well, which I'll leave you guys to talk about if you like.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that point. Actually, so many people they'll be like, "Oh yeah, no, we've built this new website. My auntie says she doesn't like that color, and it's not right." And you're like, "Well, is your auntie your target audience? You know, no. Show it to your target audience and get their feedback. Post it in Facebook pages, Facebook groups, on your LinkedIn. You know, ask people for their opinion, but get the opinion of the people who are in your target audience, not just your gran and your little nephew who thinks it looks pretty. You know, be a bit strategic about that. Hannah, so what tools would you recommend for people?
Well, and also, sorry, just to say, you know, if your auntie is your target audience, fantastic, but don't forget it's taste as well. So studies show that the white space, when it's around 70%, converts people better, rather than, you know, very heavy colors and stuff. So try not to let your personal taste get in the way of your web design, especially when you're designing your landing pages. That's
really important. Do you know what? Actually, I am going to reiterate on that as well, because a lot of web designers, they want to be really innovative. They want to create something that looks amazing and nobody's done it before and blah, blah, blah. There is a reason that websites are built in the way that they are built, where you have the logo in the top left and you have the phone number and the email in the top right. And the navigation essentially goes homepage, about us, products, services, blog and contact page. The reason is that that's how people know how to use a website. They know where to go to navigate it quickly. If you fuck around with that too much, you just confuse people and they will just go off and go to the next website because it's easier. So yeah, you know, yes, you want to be a little bit innovative and a little bit creative, but you do that within the confines of a normal web template. Hannah, anyway, back to testing.
So tools. I think it's tools.
Tools. I think from Chorley, we turn every one-syllable word into a two-syllable word.
Tools. I think, like Aaron said, the gold standard is analytics, because it will enable you to see how long people are staying on. Crucially, how many people are leaving that page. If you're losing traffic in droves from a particular page, then chances are high that page isn't great. If you set up some goals as well in your conversions in Google Analytics, then you'll be able to see when people fill in your contact form, download your brochure, check out from your shop, etc. And that is so important. We say this all the time, data is your key. You cannot market, you cannot succeed in many things, but especially business, if you don't have the data, you don't know what's going on. And it's so true in this instance. You need to know when you're winning, and crucially, you need to know when you're losing. And I think some A/B testing can work really well. So if you're not sure if a particular landing page is working really well, set up 2, send some traffic to one and some traffic to the other, and see which one's more successful, and then ditch.
And there are platforms that can help you do this. So there's Unbounce. There's another one, isn't there? They'll help you do A/B testing. I presume, Aaron, as a web developer, you can help your customers do that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can do it within WordPress now as well. So I'm pretty sure there's a few kind of free templates where you can, not templates, plugins where you can kind of get up and running and get the basic features.
Yeah.
And then if you know, as you need more sort of CRO, conversion rate optimization features, you can sort of pay and unlock them as well. So A/B testing is just amazing. Just doing that alone, I think, will, especially if you get a lot of traffic to that certain page, I think that alone could be a valuable tool, and just iterate, constantly test, improve. You'll be on your way.
Yeah. Any other tools, Hannah?
Well, there's heat mapping as well. So there's companies like Hotjar that do heat mapping that allow you to see where people are kind of hovering and moving on your website, where people.
And Hotjar, you can have, I think it's 2 weeks, isn't it? You get a free trial of 2 weeks, so you can get most of the data you need in that free trial and cancel, can't you?
Yeah, just make sure you do actually cancel.
It's useful though. We use Hotjar with a few clients as well, and they've just a couple of weeks ago made session recording a part of their kind of like lowest tier now as well. So you can actually record what your users are doing. You can actually watch them on your website. Yeah. So if you think people are dropping out your funnel, say if it's a contact form, a lot of people have a subject line on a contact form. Just ditch that straight away, because it's a field that don't need to be filled in. You just want them to fill in the actual message. So just things like optimizing contact forms, and you can use, you can use Google Analytics, but Hotjar and stuff like that is amazing for kind of optimizing.
They are really good.
Yeah. Actually, can we have a 0.6?
We can have a 0.6 if you wish. Yeah, go on, break the rules.
Strip out your contact forms. You do not need to know their street address, their date of birth. You don't even really need to know their surname half the time. Keep that contact form as slim as possible, because like people cannot be asked to fill in a long form. It really does turn people off. Just get the essentials.
Can I add a caveat to that?
Go on.
Now, if you have a really high value product, but you have people getting in touch with you who expect to pay a tenner for it, where you want to sell it for $2,000, and it's really, really high value, feel free to do the opposite, because if you make your contact form a little bit harder, the barrier to entry is greater. But for most people, follow Hannah's advice. Don't listen to me.
Well, I'm going to continue your caveat as well, because there's value attached to effort. So and there's trust attached to effort as well. So if you are providing a really high value service or something that sounds a bit dodgy, people feel like they're trusting you with something, or rather that you're diligent and thorough if you ask for more information.
I mean, you absolutely you contact me. We could do a whole session about contact forms, shouldn't we? I don't want to go off too much of a tangent about this, but your contact form should be aligned to your product. If you are just your kind of normal small to medium business, all you need is their email address and that they've sent it in. That's it, because you can then reply to that. You can say, yes, I will get back in touch with you. Here's more details. What do you actually want? And you start the conversation there. It doesn't need to be on your contact form. But yes, absolutely. There are so many free tools out there. And as I say, some of them are, you pay for them and they're quite expensive, but the vast majority of tools will offer at least a week free trial. So you can get quite a lot of the information you need. But whichever tools you use and however you change it, once a web page should never be a static thing. You should always be improving on that, working on it. Where am I losing people? What isn't grabbing them? How can I make that better? What information am I not giving them that they need to make that decision? keep working, keep improving. So that's it. We're running out of time. We have gone 10 minutes over because we spent 10 minutes not doing it because Facebook wouldn't let us go live to start with. So apologies for that. But these are our 5 points. How do you convert your web visitors into actual customers? Number 1, you work on getting the right traffic on your web pages in the first place. Number 2, you make your copy as snappy and as effective as you possibly can. Number 3, you have a clear call to action at that bottom of the page. Never assume someone knows what to do. You have to tell them in black and white, this is what I want you to do next. Number 4, provide options. They might not be ready to buy. So what else are you giving them to do? Can they join your Facebook page? Can they sign up to your email newsletter? You know, can they read a different blog post? What else can they do? And number 5, test and improve at all times. Use the free tools, use the paid tools, ask people, figure out what's going on and improve it all the time, and your website will get better. Aaron, final point to make on today's session.
I'm going to make a point 7, sorry.
Go on.
Performance of your page. Google cares, especially if you're relying on SEO, Google cares more than ever that you are not wasting server resources. And even more so with people being on a phone, that you're not wasting their bandwidth and their data. So where you can, optimize your pages to download as few lines of code as possible. And if you need help with that, you need a developer's help or you need a company's help with that. But that'll help kind of across the board on your website. It's just a really, really good tip that people forget.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's absolutely essential. And with the algorithm changes that are coming up in the very near future, that's going to become even more important. So yeah, nothing extraneous. Hannah, final point.
Get in touch. If all this sounds really confusing, get in touch with us or Aaron, and we'll help you as much as we possibly can, which is low.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and my point would just be, you know, strip out.
Another point after your point, sorry.
Oh, fucking hell, Aaron.
Sorry.
We're like 15 now.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
403.
No, you make your point first and then I'll jump back in.
No, I was only reiterating a point I've made earlier. I was just going to say, you know, strip out everything that is not necessary. Think about that buyer journey. On that one web page, are you answering somebody's problem and are you telling them why you're the best person to solve their problem? If you do that, you will convert them into your customers. Go, Aaron.
So we've said a lot of things, but I'm just going to strip it right back and say, if you improve one thing, it's better than improving nothing at all. So if it's just focusing on your copywriting, brilliant. Just do that. That's a great starting point.
Or get improving your pictures. The pictures can make a huge difference to whether or not somebody converts. Stop using crap stock photography and get some decent photos on there. That's it. Okay, thank you. We have gone way over time today, way over time. Thank you so much to both of you. Thank you to everybody for watching. If you want to know more, obviously we're going to keep monitoring the chat box, so please leave a comment. Aaron's going to go on and put his contact details in there. If you would like a chat with either him or us, leave it in the comments section and we'll get back to you. Thank you very much. We will be back in 2 weeks. Nobody knows what on earth we'll be talking about, but we'll work something out. Right. Have a lovely weekend, everybody.
Thanks, guys.